This video is brought to you by Artiscapade. More on them later in the video. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that I love a good hobby challenge. I've done cheap kill teams, cheap armies, and painted almost solidly until my Octarius box set was finished, but I've never attempted a 24-hour challenge. That is, until now. Today we're at Grim Dice Tabletop Gaming, and we're taking part in a 24-hour challenge. So here we are in Grimsby at Grim Dice Tabletop Gaming, the venue for this challenge, and of course, as with most challenges, I'm joined by the luscious Luke of Geek Gaming Scenics and Jazzy Josh from the Pickle Jar. If you're ever in the northeast of Lincolnshire, I can't recommend visiting this shop enough. Whilst Grimsby itself is a bit like Hull, just with less money spent on it, Grim Dice is Grimsby's best kept secret, and is absolutely packed to the rafters with thousands of model kits, card games, and all the hobby supplies you could ever need. So first of all, why are we even doing this? Now, I'm a man who likes his sleep. A lot. And whilst I can sometimes be a bit of a night owl, staying up for 24 hours really isn't my idea of fun. It's also not a particularly healthy way to hobby. Lack of sleep can cause all sorts of unwelcome side effects on the body, both physically and mentally, so whilst we're doing it in this video, it's not something that I'd encourage you to try at home. We are doing this though to help raise money for a very worthy charity, Models for Heroes, whose aim is to support former and current armed forces and emergency service personnel by promoting the use of model making as a therapeutic, meaningful activity. In the next 24 hours, I'm hoping to paint an entire Necron Combat Patrol box, and I'm going to be giving them all away. Whilst this box doesn't have that many models compared to some other Combat Patrol boxes, I think it's a sensible number of models and should be reasonably achievable in our time limit, given that I'm going to be building, painting and basing it. Whilst I'll be working on the Necrons, Luke is going to be working on completing a full 4x4 desert gaming table, while Josh is going to be working on painting a Beastmen army. Both of these are being raffled off by Grim Dice, so if you want to be in with a chance of winning them, and loads of other cool prizes, then make sure you go and check out the links in the description below. We're kicking off the challenge at 10:30 in the morning, and the first challenge of the day is simply getting my Necrons put together. Now this is taking far longer than I thought it would. I want to make sure that these guys are looking as good as they can, so I'm spending some extra time in cleaning up all the mold lines and contact points so they're not visible on the built models. We're starting off with the Necron Overlord, as this guy looks like the easiest to build and it feels like an early quick win. Next, I'm putting together the Necron Immortals, which are both the most numerous and to me look like the easiest models to put together, but I think I was kidding myself a little. Whilst I was rushing to get them built, not reading the instructions, and of course being distracted by Luke and Josh, I managed to glue some of the wrong bits together, meaning that the cables from the guns don't match up.
I'm trying to get some energy going and you keep sucking it out of me.
I don't sucking anything out of anyone.
So we are 2.5 hours in, and I realised that I cocked up on building my Immortals. So rather than trying to fix it, I've just...
Sorry, just FYI, now 3 hours in.
No,
I don't even know what's going on.
I got the base wrong way up.
Oh well, the easiest solution is just to snip them off, and it'll make the rest of them easier to put together as well. With the Immortals built, it's onto the Space Croissant and the Tomb Blades, which are frankly f***ing awful to put together, and they really took far too much time and really ate into my 24-hour challenge. It's already 5 PM and I've only just managed to get my models built, and I feel like the hardest part of the challenge is definitely still to come. With all the models built though, it was time for priming and base coating the models, which I did in one fell swoop with Steel Forge Silver Spray from Colourforge. I've become a huge fan of their spray cans, and the silver really didn't disappoint. Even with it being cold and slightly windy outside, I got a lovely even base coat all over the models. The models are built and they're undercoated, so next step for me is going to be putting a wash over them. But I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break. My back's starting to hurt, and I think to get some longevity in this challenge, I think I'm going to need to take a few breaks. So yeah, I'm going to take a little half an hour or so now, have a drink, and go back to it fresh. With everything built and primed, it's finally time to get down to the fun stuff, painting. And for this challenge, I'm going to be using this brush set from Artiscapade. This contains 15 synthetic brushes of various sizes that are perfect for miniature painting. What's more, they are super reasonably priced, and for a challenge like this, where I'll be giving them a real workout and really putting them through their paces, they're perfectly suited for the task, where I might not want to risk ruining my more expensive brushes. If you fancy picking yourself up a set, then go and check out the link in the description below, where you'll find a link to the brushes with a fantastic 20% discount. Now, I'm roughly following a painting guide by Josh for these guys, and whilst I'll be giving a rough outline of the steps, you can go and check out Josh's full video for a more in-depth painting guide in the description below. I'm using one of the larger brushes to apply Null Oil all over the models to shade the recesses. I follow this up with a light dry brush with Pro Acryl Silver just on the most raised points. Next is painting in the shoulder pads and some of the larger flat panels on the models, just to break up the silver a little. It's quite tempting to go in with a bright colour here, but I think this would really detract from the bright colours I'll be using later on the weaponry. Now, this might seem like a really easy part of the painting process, but it's actually turning out to be one of the most frustrating parts. I want to paint all the weaponry in black, but it's ended up taking a couple of coats to cover the silver, and given the amount of black on the models, it's taking a long time, or at least longer than I'd planned for it to take. To lightly highlight the weaponry, I'm going in with a mid-grey, and I'm using the flat-headed brush that came as part of the Artiscapade set. The broader head works so well for just catching the edges of the weaponry to add a very subtle highlight. So it's just gone 1:30 in the morning, and starting to get a little bit tired now. We've had a very late dinner, so I think having just eaten quite a big meal, started to slow down a little bit now, and I think everyone's starting to get a little bit tired. I've still got quite a lot to do. I'm going to now start inking all my weapons in with the white ink.
Falling asleep then?
Yeah. Got in a vlog.
I've got to be in every vlog.
We're getting delirious.
Yeah.
Are you getting tired? I'm using my Liquitex white ink to fill in the recesses on the weaponry to provide a bright base coat for the glowing weapons. At this point, it's gone 2:30 AM, and I'm really starting to get tired. I've been building and painting for over 16 hours, and my dexterity is starting to give out, so my accuracy isn't as good as it could be. My eyes are also starting to feel really heavy, and if I were painting at home, then I would be giving up at this point and getting some sleep. But because this is a 24-hour challenge, I feel like I need to keep going for as long as I can. The larger glowing areas on the weaponry I'm base coating in Pro Acryl White, which is covering so well over the black, even with just a single coat. With the white dry, it's time to paint in the glowing weapons. I started out by using a combination of red and yellow inks. Unfortunately though, this isn't going on anywhere near as smooth as I had planned, and a combination of fatigue, sleep deprivation and frustration have taken their toll on me. So it is 5:15 in the morning, and I think I'm done. So I've got all the base colours and the white inks down on my Necrons, but I'm not going to be able to get the coloured inks down, and I'm really tired. So I'm going to have a few hours sleep, I think. So I think I failed this challenge. In hindsight, while I didn't manage to complete the 24-hour challenge, I'm really glad I took a sleep break when I did. Sleep is such an important part of our circadian sleep rhythm that missing an entire night's worth would have really taken its toll on me and would have probably affected me for the following week. With the shop opening at 9 AM and keen to get my Necrons finished, I was up again after about 3 hours sleep. Whilst it wasn't the best night's sleep I've ever had, I feel like it's enough to get me through the next few hours and to get these guys finished. Rather than having a second attempt with the inks, I opted to go with the simpler solution and bought a pot of Gryph-hound Orange Contrast, which gave me a much closer effect to what I was after. Now, I used pretty much exclusively the Artiscapade brushes to complete this army, and I am so impressed with how they've stood up to the abuse. I've probably not looked after them over the last 12 hours or so as well as I should have, but they've stood up to a real beating and still managed to keep a decent point on them. I'd highly recommend getting a set, especially for batch painting big armies like this. With the painting done, we're on to the final home stretch with the basing. Luke kindly brought along some base-ready material for me, including some of these awesome orange gems, which pair perfectly with my orange Necrons. I superglued these on the base, and then used fast-drying basing glue to cover the base with Volcanic Island base ready. And with that, my Necrons are done and finished. Just before 10:30 AM, so just managing to scrape inside the 24-hour limit. I'm pretty pleased with how they've turned out overall, and although they're going to be given a few little touch-ups here and there, they are 99% done. Now here's the kicker. I've spent nearly 24 hours working on these, and now I'm going to be giving them away for charity. Yes, you heard that right, I'm going to be selling these on eBay, with all of the proceeds going to Models for Heroes. My blood, sweat and tears went into these models, so if you want to own a piece of Benji's Hobbies history and support a fantastic charity in the process, then go and check out the link in the description below, where you'll find a link to the eBay listing. It'll be up for a week from the time this video goes up, so make sure you get in there early. Please dig deep and remember that the money you spend on this pre-painted Combat Patrol box is going to a fantastic cause. Also, make sure you go and check out Luke and Josh's video on their project as well. The board and army look absolutely amazing, and there is the chance for one lucky person to win them in the Grim Dice raffle. Finally, make sure you check out the link to the Artiscapade brushes down below to receive 20% off your set. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.
I realised that I made a bit of a mess up on my Immortals, putting them together. Will you f*** off? Right, I'm gonna shit on your board in a bit. You can use that as base ready.
Where's that mountain come from?